Can you imagine being a pilot and one day during your training almost colliding with a totally unknown object? Then imagine that after this, there is no explanation that you can turn to, that there are only suppositions to try to hide every single fact that happened. Something has characterized the sightings of the last 2 decades. It has not only been people in their common routine, walking down the street, who have seen each of these strange objects that fly over our skies, but also people visually trained to recognize threats and act on them. We are talking about military and trained pilots who have witnessed objects that even they cannot explain, technologies that surpass our capabilities and our highest understanding that we have to this day. And not only is there fascination, but there are also days where surprises and the unexplainable turn into fear. This is what happened at the end of 2014. A pilot of the aircraft carrier Theodore Roosevelt, in his daily training routine, almost collided with one of these strange objects, and thanks to this incident, the previous theory of Navy pilots that the objects were part of some kind of extremely classified drone operation was destroyed. After these events, nothing was ever the same again. Interest in UFOs increased and skepticism gradually fell into fragments. The subject was no longer only being discussed in the streets and on social networks, but also at the highest political and military levels. And it is here where one of the most important characters in the investigation of unidentified objects emerges: the Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence under Presidents Clinton and George W. Bush, Christopher Mellon. A character that would establish a clarity and an extremely important truthfulness about this mysterious subject, since, according to each of his investigations, each of the inexplicable evidence ever seen before only want to tell us that the existence of extraterrestrials is true. Mankind has always looked to the skies for meaning, but as our yearning for knowledge has reached farther into the depths of space, the search becomes for the answer of the question, are we alone? If you seek the truth, like, subscribe, click the bell icon. Join us. This is what the world needs. This is disclosure. The universe is full of things that every day fill us with intrigue, doubts, and an unquestionable desire to find answers. Whether we're alone in the universe or not, it's only a matter of time until we can know. Life goes by, and along with it, technology evolves more and more. The light of the stars that happened 12.9 billion years ago is only now reaching our advanced telescopes. We can only admire how step by step the events are reaching our eyes. Maybe they're the ones who find us first. Maybe they're the ones who have already discovered us and have been studying us for thousands of years. We have no way of knowing, much less of discovering it at this time. The only thing we can be sure of is that we are getting more and more evidence. When the pilot's radar system dating back to the 1980s was replaced with a more advanced one, the evidence of strange objects increased more and more. Could this be proof that technology is a big barrier to our communication with them? Enigmatic objects accelerating, stopping, and suddenly reaching hypersonic speeds. Undoubtedly, we're witnessing something from other worlds. Hundreds of people who know that something is happening are making an impeccable effort to let the whole world know that the UFOs we're observing are indeed extraterrestrial. This is the work of former Deputy Director of Defense Christopher Mellon. After intense investigations by the U.S. government and failure to identify what those strange flying objects were, Christopher Mellon points to only one thing: the failure to discover what those more than 100 unidentified objects were means that the odds are extremely high that they are the existence of extraterrestrials. The Director of National Intelligence released reports showing that the government was in no way able to discover and explain 143 of the 144 encounters the military had with each of the unidentified flying objects. According to Mellon, there are still many questions that have yet to be answered, many unknowns that so far have no way out. Still, Mellon wonders why the government continues to withhold information on the subject. Why do they do it? And more importantly, what does it all mean? Throughout his incredible career in government, Chris Mellon has focused deeply on those unconventional perspectives that could be threats to the nation. He is currently working with a civilian organization called To the Stars Academy of Arts and Science, where they are trying to take the lead in UFO investigations and to encourage U.S. intelligence and defense organizations to investigate unidentified aerial reports of unexplained and unprecedented maneuvers. The growing number of sightings of unexplained flying objects in military settings is part of an inspiration for Mellon as it drives each of the investigations. And you might be wondering, what's the reason for this? Well, the whistleblowers are highly trained, reliable witnesses, and at the same time they have state-of-the-art technologies capable of documenting and capturing any strange object in the air. Having served as Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence during the Clinton and George W. Bush administrations, and later as the Senate Intelligence Committee's Minority Staff Director. Chris Mellon was largely responsible for reviewing agencies and budgets involved in top-secret, black programs. Yes, you heard right. We are talking about special operations, nuclear weapons, and top-secret research. The first question we've all asked ourselves when we've seen the information on these enigmatic objects is, could this be one of our own programs, a highly classified U.S. test program? Although Chris Mellon's job was to oversee even the blackest and most secret programs, he admits to never having come across research, construction, or prototypes that come close to what these strange flying objects are. A technology like this is so radical that it can't just appear out of nowhere, it can't just appear out of thin air. There would have to be facilities, research, development, a prototype, any trace that would document the possible existence of a superior technology. However, there is no evidence of that anywhere. There's just something really exciting through each of these events, and that is that more and more people are considering the possibility that there is something beyond what we understand. Millions of people trying to find answers to a profound and timeless question: are we alone in the universe? It may be a beautiful question, and at the same time, one that fills us with concern. The task is no longer to validate the existence of UFOs, because it is a fact that they exist. The real task is to find the answer to why they are here. Where do they come from, and what is this incredible technology that is observed in each of their sightings? This is where the great dilemma lies. It's no longer a matter of verifying that they exist. It's now a matter of understanding why they're here. Mellon, in each of his investigations, affirmed that the objects reported by the pilots between 2014 and 2015 were performing feats never seen before and impossible with the physics we know. We are talking about speeds of more than 5,000 miles per hour during lapses of more than 12 hours. Undoubtedly, an unparalleled technology that fills us with more doubts than answers. According to Chris Mellon, the highly dangerous thing happens when these flying objects get close enough to collide with the pilots. In addition to being a terrifying experience, it is something that in one way or another is in violation of national security. But will we certainly be able to take action against objects we don't know about? Objects that have simply been flying our skies while filling us with doubt and intrigue? Well, attacking potential interstellar visitors is a decision that needs to be extremely well thought out. Beyond seeing them as an imminent danger as a human species, our task is to investigate what they are and where they come from, and above all, to try by all possible means to establish means of contact with each of these objects that to this day have no explanation. Thousands of scientists and committed people are in a fragment of space, adrift, waiting to obtain contact with these objects that could come from other civilizations. But that's where we are, and that's what keeps us here. That's what drives us to continue investigating what exists beyond anything we can imagine. This is the work of people like Christopher Mellon and each of us who try to understand day after day the reason for our existence. It's not enough how many sightings there are, no matter how much information there is about them. The only thing that will make us see beyond what we are is to finally witness life at its best, reflected elsewhere in the universe. Today, NASA is spending more than $20 billion a year, where a small part of this large sum of money goes to research into our outer space, exobiology, microbial life on Mars, the possibility of extraterrestrial life. At this moment, telescopes such as Hubble and the great James Webb are preparing to carry out the most important research in our history. They have in their lenses the mission to examine the atmospheres of different planets in search of molecules that are consistent with life. And in fact, the important thing in this case will not be to find intelligent life, but to find some other type of life somewhere in the universe. These are, without a doubt, the most fascinating research programs in our history, but that does not mean that everything will be fast. The goals will be slow, carried out with exquisite science and intentions, unmatched and filled with a love for the great mystery that surrounds us. Are we a miracle, or are we stardust scattered on this earth as on many others? Whatever the answer, the human species is preparing to understand it, to know what to do with it. Every day the evidence seems to be more irrefutable, and we can only stick to what our eyes, our instinct, and our knowledge observe.